What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to be going over EV and IV training in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So, let's get into it. So to start off, every Pokemon has an IV and an EV. IV stands for individual value. So that one is most easily manipulated with breeding. So you can get the correct IVs you would like. That helps you in competitive, because that's pretty much what this is. You want to train your Pokemon to get the best way you can to get the competitive advantage, because they're all the same level. And I mean, you can get OP for your max raid battles, but for your competitive, you're going to be needing to do a lot of IV training with breeding, and you're going to need to do a lot of EV training. EV training stands for effort values. That's different. So since every Pokemon is locked to level 50 in competitive, your effort values will matter a lot. So the max number you can go on them is individually is 255 for an overall of 510. Normally you don't want to go over 252 because it doesn't really change, but that's what's going to matter. Your IVs will set up individually on what you want the Pokemon to do, and your EVs will help you do it better. So we're going to go over the individual things on how to EV train, as well as what you can do to help your IVs. So first off, let's go over your EVs, because it's probably the most complex and it's probably the one you don't really understand the most, which, no offense, it's really complicated. So if we take a look at my Snorlax here, he is competitive training because I have used him. But if you're looking at the screen right here, this is your IV screen. So it is different. Now, if you go on the screen in your post game and you can look at it, you can hit X and it pulls up this yellow. What this yellow is, it's your EV spread. It's what you've put into him to give him his best EV spread, or the EV spread that you would like on him. As you can see, there is a shining around his defense. That means I've maxed out his defense. It's at 252 or 255, depending on how you'd like to look at it. So it won't go any higher. So no matter what, as it is right now, a level 100 Snorlax with max defense. That means there's no Snorlax compatibility that can go any higher of a defense than he is right now. So when you do competitive, there's no level 50 Snorlax that can have a higher defense than him. But if you also look, that little, you got this yellow section, but then you have the little blue, little bit of blue that stretches from defense to HP to special defense. What that is, that's what your EVs are. So as you can tell, it reaches all the way to defense. It doesn't reach all the way to HP, and it jets out a little bit for special defense. So that means it's spread around between defense, HP, and special defense. That means he's built to be very bulky. Very hard to take down. Very, very bulky. Now, the way you do that is with vitamins, Pokerus, and Pokejobs within this game. So we'll go over those real quick. So for our vitamins, we have a few choices. Okay. So we have HP, obviously, boost your HP. Protein for your attack. Iron for your defense. Carbos for your speed. Special attack is calcium. Zinc is special defense. And then you have feathers, which all do the same thing depending on which feather you have. Now, the difference between these two is the bottles raise you up by 10. So you're going up by increments of 10. Which, if you're going for 252, that'd be 26. Because that's just going to max you out all the way. Because you go to 25 would be 250. The 6 would only give you 5, which doesn't, it kind of just drops off to give you 252. But your feathers give you 1. You can go out into the wild, use your braces, your macho bands, because if you knock out a Pokemon wild, it has an EV attached to it, isn't very big, and really is not that effective. It's very slow, very time consuming. And honestly, whenever you're using feathers and vitamins, it makes the job 10 times easier. So You can actually find these in 2 places in the game. One, if you come up to Wimbledon, the Pokemon Center here has them for sale. They're 10,000 per for the bottles, but they give you 10, which is very, very useful. That's mainly what you'll do. You'll go with your 10 increments of 10, and then you'll use your feathers for your 1. The feathers you can find right along Route 5. If you come right across the bridge, there'll be little glints of shiny, and you'll pick them up. My recommendation is, no matter what, if you're trying to do some competitive, just trying to get into it, have a little fun around, or make yourself OP for max raids, you should come across this bridge constantly. Maybe every time you fire up the game, come across it, get your feathers, because honestly, they do make the difference. 1 to 2 extra in one of your things, attack, defense, doesn't matter. It does make a difference. Yeah, that's the difference between knocking something out in 1 shot, otherwise known as OHKO, or living something that you would otherwise get OHKO'd by. So that's very useful. And whenever you come up, they have the normal selection. So you go here to buy, and here they all are. All 10,000 each. And it does make a very big difference. Now, Pokerus. Pokerus is something you can find very rarely. It is very rare, but it is possible. It does help you boost everything. But I don't rely on it that often. And then another thing is Pokejobs. So you can come to Pokejobs, and I'll be honest. I've never used a Pokejob. I haven't. So what you're doing here is you're essentially taking on jobs, and you're just going to send them out to do a job, and they're going to come back with a certain set of EVs, and it'll help you. It'll help. It will. So you send them out. And here they also have a chance of coming back with Pokerus. And whenever you have one with Pokerus, it will help you get more EVs, find them in the wild, very rare. But we mainly focus on vitamins because they are the most effective. So now for IVs, okay? So we went over EVs and how you can do them. You can do them in any increment you want. Normally, one tip on EVs before we move on to IVs is if you put 60 into a stat, this is my personal thing. I like to put an extra 60 into something that normally doesn't get used. So like my Snorlax here, I have 252 in defense, but then I have 60 in special defense. What that does is it throws off the spread of someone that is normally calcing, because Snorlaxes are built very bulky, very defensively bulky, because his weakness is fighting. So it helps me live it, because they're physical attackers. And that 60 will throw off the special attackers, because it'll pull off his HP. Nobody will calc for a special defense increase. And I will live a move that typically somebody will be like, okay, I'm going to, let's say Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is a physical or a special move. So, okay, I can calc it. It's a Shadow Ball. I can one-shot his Snorlax. Well, now that I have 60 in it instead of 0, I live it. And then they're surprised, and I can knock out their Pokemon. So that's how that'll help. That's a little tip. That's something I tend to do. But for EVs for breeding, you can find them in the wild, and they have all these random stats. Because I mean, you can look at my SQ here; it's all pretty good. They max out at 30. Rillaboom's good, or Rillaboom's best. That means he's maxed out at 30. SQ's pretty good. That means he's not 30, but he's still good, very good, decent. A little lower. The Ditto here is fantastic. Is not best. It's just under best. And then my Snorlax here, you can see has no good. So no good equals 0. The reason Snorlax is at 0 is because I want him to be the slowest thing on the field. I put no speed in. And so whenever I go into Trick Room, I'm the slowest thing on the field. So I go first while in Trick Room. If I'm not in Trick Room, then I'm gonna move last. That's just plain and simple. But he's built for that team, for that play style. And the way you can do no good speed or, stuff like that is you just go around and you catch a lot of them and hopefully you get the one you want. Or what I do is I breed with a Ditto. So if I breed with a Ditto, he has his stats, but no matter what, he's going to give me a Snorlax. And I'm just going to breed and breed and breed until I get the one I want. Until I get that no good speed. I remember getting the Snorlax and his other attacks and his defense and his HPs weren't that good. Some were good, some weren't, but they weren't best. And that's what you want. What you really want. The things that you need best, you need to get it. But he's a no good speed, which is what I wanted. So then in post game, you can sit here, look at it. Because you got the judge function, you can tell no good speed, perfect. I can go up, I can bottle cap him. What bottle capping is you take him to the battle tower and you hyper train that one attack or that one defense, whatever your rating is that the judge function shows you, which is what we're looking at now, and make it best. Make it the best it can be, which drops it to a 30. Or yes, you would say bumps it to a 30. And with you going with a Ditto, that means you always get the same mon, but different stats. If you breed a Snorlax with, or let's just go with a Tangrowth with an Amoonguss, well, depending on how you set that up, you're going to get an Amoonguss, not a Tangrowth. And that's how you can get your egg moves too, is, not using a Ditto, but that's how you get your IVs. And your IVs are very important as well. If you look at this Weezing, so I'm a Weezing. Good. It's all hyper trained. And he's supposed to go with this Regigigas, which is also hyper trained and thinks he's not good at. His attack came out to be no good, but his special attack came out to be best. So that was something I didn't have to mess with. But a reason you would want no good attack is stuff like Play Rough. Play Rough will determine or will boost the damage depending on how much you have your attack in. So if you have a bunch of EVs in attack, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. So here, I don't take that much damage from it. That's some things on how to do EVs and IV spreads. You can just go on to Smogon and play around with it so you don't play with it in game. So then you can dial it in. It also has pre-spreads, but that's how you do it. That makes it really easy in Sword and Shield. Just honestly, I stick to vitamins and feathers. I don't really go around and knock stuff out. Makes it really difficult, messy, but that's how you can do it. Use a Ditto and whatever Pokemon you want for your IVs. Make sure you get to what you want. One thing is, if you do get a Ditto with all best, and that's what you want, go ahead and just throw a Destiny Knot on him. What that'll do is it'll carry over his traits to whatever you need. So then you don't have to do bottle caps and all this, and makes it a little bit quicker. I hope this helped you out.